So welcome, everybody, to the second hour of Mindshifters Radio. Today is Monday, April the 18th, 2022, and our call-in number is 563-999-3581, and press 1, and that puts you in the queue to talk to us. We'd love to hear your comments and your questions, because that makes this your show. While we're waiting on Michael to dial in, as always, I will direct you to our website, which is www.whyagain.org. And I was trying to click on at the same time, and for some reason it's given me an issue here. But I will invite you to go to the website and look around. And if you find something that doesn't work or something you don't understand, please drop me a line at Jeanie, Jeanie, at whyagain.org, and let me know what the URL is, or let me know what your question is. You know, we can receive questions now directly from the app, and so we will answer them once I get an email. Then I'll ask the question on the show, and we'll address it, and then I'll drop you back an email and let you know what day and time we addressed your question. Just another way to reach out and offer support, and we invite you to do that. We had a really awesome book club meeting, and that was on Thursday, and I haven't gotten the MP4 of it yet, but as soon as I get it, I'll have it on our website, and that will be under you can click on events, or you can click on schedules, and you'll see it says Global Book Club. And all the information there, the Zoom link, how you can sign in, how you can join us. We're not going to have another meeting this month, but in May we will be doing the second and fourth Thursday, and from then on until we come to a completion of it. And who knows how long that's going to be. I think it's going to be questions and answers this next time that we meet, and that will be on the second Thursday, May the 12th. And then again on May the 26th. I was looking at my calendar there. And so please join us. It's an awesome group, awesome conversations. We did a worksheet with a lady this last time, and it was like a hydra. So it'll be awesome when we get that link from Yinka, and we'll put it on our website. And I think you'll enjoy listening to that and walking through the worksheet. The lady was super brave to put it all out there, and it took her into some deep places. And so we were all excited for her, and it gave us all a lesson. Welcome, Michael. Hello, Michael.
Thank you, dear heart, and welcome, everybody. You're here with us to continue this conversation, and it's fun to have the conversation expanding, especially over into Europe and India and places elsewhere than here in America in the world. And the book club is accomplishing that, so that's kind of cool to see how that's happening. And, of course, the book is available in several different languages. If you want to go to the website, whyagain.org, you can download the book free and give it a read. And today I've kind of got my mind in the direction of how our culture has become so addicted to stuff. You know, people will do anything for more stuff. And looking into why that is. And I have an offering that is, I think, worth looking at, and is at least one of the reasons why people have become addicted to stuff. You know, Vladimir Lenin says, if you want to destroy a culture, all you have to do is change the meaning of its words. And it's interesting, there's a set of words in this culture that's repeated often that, and in fact, it's enshrined in the Constitution. And everybody thinks it's a great and wonderful thing, which, you know, it kind of is if you know the definition of the word. But if you don't know the definition of the word and you substitute it for what you're really looking for, then there's trouble. So there's a French paleontologist named Teilhard de Chardin. And de Chardin had an interesting definition, almost correct definition, for the word joy. He says that joy is the infallible sign of the presence of the Creator. Now, I'm just slightly in disagreement with him there, mostly in agreement, but slightly in disagreement, because if that were actually true, everybody would be in joy all the time, because nobody has ever been out of the presence of the Creator. So when we just add one word to it, joy is the infallible sign of the awareness of the presence of the Creator. When you're aware of who you are as love, when you live in the presence of and in the awareness of love, then you live in joy. You know, you think about the newborn child. What do people spontaneously call the newborn child? Oh, a bundle of joy. Notice they don't say a bundle of happiness. The founding fathers were pursuing happiness, and they put that in the guise, pursuit of happiness. They didn't say the pursuit of joy, but notice that when that pure state of being, that pure love comes into our lives, we spontaneously talk about it as the presence of joy, as the presence of love. And interestingly enough, that child is going to be brainwashed out of experiencing itself as what it is, as love, and therefore spontaneously live in joy, and it's going to be taught to go get more stuff. Now, I'd offer that when we define happiness properly, then we've got a big clue. Happiness is the result of achieving a goal. So if your goal is to get more stuff and you get stuff, you're happy. Oh, look, she got a new package. She was really depressed, and then she looked out the door, and there was a package there, and she opened it, and she had a new pair of whatever, a new hat, a new watch, whatever it was, and she was happy. Why was she happy? Because she had a goal for that stuff. And when the mind is set up so that when we achieve a goal, it gives us a shot of what's called happy powder, dopamine. It's actually the stuff that when, say, for instance, people use cocaine. Why do people get burned out on cocaine and become depressed? Because cocaine uses dopamine. It uses up the raw material of your happy powder. And so if you use all of that up and there's no dopamine left, you can snort as much coke as you want. And you have to snort more and more and more, and the more you snort, the more you use the dopamine up, the less dopamine you have, the less possibility is to get that high or that hit. That is so thrilling, but short-term, and always involves a crash. So notice the girl that was depressed and went and saw the door package at her door and got it and was happy for a moment, was only happy for a moment, till that dopamine hit was gone, and then she was back in her depression. Now, if you brought her more stuff, another gift that she was looking for, she might have been happy for a little while, till the dopamine wore off. And so we've become a culture that's about stuff. The thing that kind of stimulated this conversation for me this morning, I happened to come across, I was doing a search for something, and I came across a video. It was really quite interesting. I actually posted on my Facebook page, and it was just all kinds of inventions. Like, I don't know, I didn't count them, but 20 or 30 or 40 or 50. I didn't actually watch the whole thing, but it might have been 30 different, and just amazing inventions. I mean, you know, the way they turn a piece of round pipe into a steel, a square steel girder, or, you know, I mean, just really cool technology stuff, right down to how they package ice cream and the inventiveness of it. And what I realized is, with all of this that people are so happy about, it's all about stuff. If one is constantly pursuing stuff, kind of like dopamine or cocaine uses up dopamine, they use up their dopamine supplies, and then there's no boost, there's no juice left for happiness. Even all this stuff becomes boring because they've used up all of the raw materials of dopamine, and they become, the billionaire commits suicide with all the stuff that you could possibly have. So my offering is that we need to be thinking about that, and if we're stuck in that pursuit, and it seems like we're successful when I'm happy, means I achieved the goal, and you can watch people achieving negative goals, destructive goals. The kid who's a bully is happy when he beats another little kid up because he has a goal. He probably comes from a home where he was abused or she was abused, and being abused felt no power. And when they found somebody else they could beat up, the goal to have some power seemed to really be wonderful, and they were happy by beating someone else up. And having achieved that goal to have power, they get a hit of dopamine. But you'll notice people live in that world. We can look in the political world, and it becomes pretty obvious who's playing that game. There is no happiness once the dopamine's used up. And when the goals are being achieved, anything that threatens those goals becomes the enemy, and there's no experience whatsoever of actual joy. So it's kind of like the mind's cheap copy of living as and in the presence of love. So the invitation as it relates to this work, and what struck me as I watched all the inventiveness of these machines that were just amazing technology, amazing ingenuity, was to realize there was a man 2,000 years ago who had a piece of technology that didn't just bring people to happiness, it restored the experience of direct joy that we're designed to live in, and that doesn't require the use of dopamine. It's aligning with and living within our natural state. And it starts with, the first step in it, when they said to Yeshua 2,000 years ago. And when you realize, the thing that clicked for me as I was watching these genius inventions was a genius of a mind that knew how to restore people to joy, and how that technology has just been thrown by the side. And yet it's 1,000 times more valuable than all the wonderful technology, gadgets, and stuff you could possibly put your hands on, because it's the only thing that produces a permanent state of the active presence of love. And if we become addicted to stuff, then the importance of forgiveness in the culture, and stuff could include something like the bully that wins over somebody else and therefore gets their dopamine hit, that could be considered stuff. And how forgiveness removes those conditions to the presence of joy, because joy is overridden. Joy is a subtle energy, but when the noise of gotta have stuff, the mind's screaming for its stuff, demanding, and there's never enough. You need another, and another. So just inviting everybody to take a look at that in the context of doing this work, and in the context of bringing this work forward and assisting people to build the brain cells to understand the importance of taking at least some percentage of your time and dedicating it to restoring your mind to the point where that state of joy becomes your natural state. And then along with that, you'll develop a faculty called choice that literally allows you to bring it. It isn't a matter of something from the past. I have a goal from the past, and I want more of that, so I set goals and I'm pursuing that. But it removes all of those conditions and just leaves people in the state where they naturally know who they are as love, and they naturally experience the presence of that active love in which they live, move, and have their being. And once you've got that, it's hard to get the mind off track. And if your mind goes off track, then that's the next piece of work to do. That's the next piece of forgiveness work that needs to be done. Forgiveness being the removal of what never belonged within this human energy system. The removal, quite literally, of all the goals for this stuff. It doesn't mean don't have stuff. It means that if you have to do something that brings you into a state of pain in order to get your stuff, then your stuff ultimately is going to bring you to pain. And so we're looking to restore an understanding. The other day, Bob gave us a really powerful definition or a statement from Charlie Chaplin. And Charlie Chaplin said, "You only need power to do harm. Love is enough to do what matters." And most people are out there pursuing power because power allows them to achieve goals. Love brings us to the state of joy, the ultimate reward of a lifetime. There's a story I recount the story in my book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again, about the old man on his deathbed. And the child approaches him and says, "Gee, Grandpa, how did you get to live such a joyful life?" And the grandpa says, "Well, for years and years, I chased what people told me would make me happy. Then I decided that go and just be connected, just be in that state of joy, of connectedness. And from there, there are few actual needs, as our culture would profess needs or pushes towards needs. And what becomes more important is the expression of who we are as love and bringing that forward to the world, bringing it forward in service to the world. So it seemed like some thoughts worth expressing that might give a little different slant on the whole process of forgiveness. And again, recognizing that the word forgive means remove. It doesn't have anything to do with, I'm going to let you off the hook for what's happening inside of me. It really is going back and removing those goals that set up behaviors that don't serve joy, though if we achieve them, bring happiness, or, which is the cheap copy of joy. And of course, the ongoing, when people first start this work, I usually suggest they do 5 worksheets a day for 40 days. And what happens when you step into the forgiveness worksheet process is you get to go into your own unconscious dynamics. And if you spend 40 days in your own unconscious dynamics, if you spend your 40 days in the desert in the ancient scriptures is just a code word for the unconscious. If you spend your 40 days in the desert, it's going to change your life forever. So that's our invitation. We invite you to join us, and you can do that process in one of several ways. You can go to our website, whyagain.org, and you can step into and do the forgiveness process right there on the website. You can download the forgiveness worksheet, print it off on your own printer, or take it to the printer and get it bound and printed, and do worksheets in the comfort of your own home. And or you can go to your app store on your phone and download the world's only forgiveness app. And you do that by simply going to your app store, whether you've got an iPhone or an Android, and you type in the words Heartland, Heartland, second word Aramaic, Aramaic, Forgiveness, Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness. You're looking at the world's only forgiveness app. Download it, and right there on your phone, you're carrying out your forgiveness work. So lots of ways to access the tools, and of course, the reason for this show is to support you in understanding the process and carrying forward with the process. And if you have any questions about it, if you're on a station where we can't see you, one of the syndicated stations that carries this show, then if you dial the number 563-999-3581, 563-999-3581. If you dial that number, you'll be listening to the show directly on your phone. And then if you have a question or thought, you push 1, raise his hand in the phone queue, and we'll be having a conversation. And I would love to have a conversation with you. So, Ms. Jeannie, do we have anybody out there in the phone queue with a hand up or anything happening in the chat room?
We do have a hand up. And
well, great. Let's say hello.
Area code 541, you're on the air.
Hello, 541.
Hello. I was trying to get out of the buttons, and I couldn't. Okay. I'm really glad that you're making the distinction between happy. Oh, this is Celinda, by the way, in case you didn't recognize me.
We got your voice, young lady. And a thank you. Aria was here today and loved her plate. She had her breakfast on that little plate that you sent her this morning.
Oh, you're kidding. How funny. Yeah, how sweet.
Yeah.
Okay. I was so grateful that you mentioned the distinction between happiness and joy. And so, of course,
how did that strike you? What did that mean for you?
Well, I was starting. I have reflected on that difference, and I really enjoy you putting that one change in Teilhard de Chardin, or how do you say his name?
Yeah, Teilhard de Chardin.
Because I've always loved de Chardin. Okay.
Yeah.
I've always loved that quote, so I've got that written down. And ever since you mentioned the Lenin quote about you just change the meaning of the words to destroy culture, I have really been paying attention, and I've been going to the dictionary a lot, Webster's dictionary, and I've been going to the derivation of the words in the original languages, and also I've been noticing and really paying attention to the obsolete meanings of words.
Right.
And so I ran to look up happy, and happy is favored by luck or fortune, fortunate. And happiness is good fortune and prosperity. A pleasurable
achieving goals.
Yep, exactly. And so joy has really come up more in my life again. And I'm realizing how much happenstance is circumstantial. Happiness is circumstantial. It's like happenstance. Oh, if you're lucky and this situation happens, then you're happy. So you can never
if you achieve this goal.
Yeah. You can never get this because it's like the carrot in front of the donkey, you know. And I have been also...
Well, actually, my offering would be you can get there. It's just that once the dopamine hit you get, which is, quote-unquote, your happiness, once that dopamine's been used up, then it takes another hit and another hit and another hit and another hit. And if we don't have joy to fall back on, if we don't have a substitute, it's not long before that whole system in the brain is overloaded and it crashes.
What was it that you called happy powder or power?
Happy powder. It's been referred to in the brain as happy powder. It's dopamine, chemical called dopamine. That when you get it, when you achieve a goal, you get a shot of that, and that's the euphoria, the happiness that people feel.
Yeah, I thought maybe that was the name for heroin among users or something. I didn't know.
Well, when someone uses a drug, here's why people get into burnout. If you didn't catch that, when somebody uses drugs like that, it causes the body to burn its dopamine. It's so the high that comes as a result of an excessive use of dopamine, but then the dopamine gets worn out. It gets used, and there's none left, or there's very little left, and that's why somebody needs more of a drug to force the burning of more dopamine, which uses more of the resource until the system just collapses, and people, it doesn't matter how much you give them, it's just going to kill them.
Right. Right. They just have total adrenal burnout and whatever else comes down the pike. Yeah. Also, Charlie Chaplin's quote. Can you put that in the notes for today? That was really a good quote. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I think it went in the notes on I think it was Wednesday or Thursday that Bob had called in and shared that with us. Bob from Australia. Remember, he called in and shared that quote with us.
Right. Oh, that's good. Wednesday or Thursday, because I wasn't able to listen that day. Perfect. I'll go back and look. And I've also come to really distinguish that for me in this moment of time, the meaning or the understanding that power always involves empowerment. It's always like a shared process. I just really appreciate that. And I'm looking more and more at the significance of true community, whatever true means, our understanding in the moment of community and cooperation and coordination and co-creativity and all of those, what that has revealed for me.
Well, as you said the word community, I heard it slightly differently than I've ever heard it before, and break it up into community.
Yeah,
when we experience our connectedness, that's where that active presence of love becomes strengthened, and people more easily access that state. But the quote, just so you got it, because it's just a few words from Charlie Chaplin, is, "You only need power to do harm.
And the
love is enough. Love is enough to do what matters."
I love it. All of this geographical cure processes that we humans get into, or non-humans, whichever it is, there was some sort of quote from an Eastern sage a long time ago, and I don't know if it's a Taoist quote or a Zen quote or something, but something about the quote was something like, "I do not need to go out of my house to experience the whole world." It was a quote like that, and if I could find it, I would share it. So our running
the source
off,
of joy is within us.
That's right. And
now running off has to do with achieving goals.
Right. Right. And I'm just now beginning to make these connections, to understand, because it's another thing I've been aware of, Michael and Jeannie, is that understanding is a whole different game than wax. I mean, a ball of wax than knowledge. And when I found out that the Aramaic amen, one of the possible definitions for it, because it was used at the end of contracts and in any end of an agreement conversation, was, "This is the ground upon which I stand," or "This is the ground of my understanding." And now I'm really enjoying looking at the two of those. The knowledge, which I perceive at this moment in time, is from the analytical brain, and the understanding, which comes from our deeper subconscious connection to the divine as we open up. So I just wanted to share that with you because
one would be information, the other would be connection.
Right, exactly.
And
but that goes
dopamine,
first, right? It's experience.
Yeah.
And dopamine.
The other brain chemical that, in order for people to experience fulfillment instead of happiness, is serotonin. And serotonin comes from connecting. That's in the brain when we, as opposed to achieving a goal, when we connect with another person, that's when the brain starts to amp its output of serotonin. So it's the connection energy, and that's what brings satisfaction, opposed to the dopamine stimulator, which is satiation. Oh, I got to have more money, more power, more sex, more. And that's the dopamine, more goals, and achieving connection stimulates serotonin release.
What is oxytocin?
Oxytocin. Not Oxycontin, but oxytocin. Oxytocin is it's a connection chemical. It comes from making connection with another being, whether it's petting your cat or connecting with another person. A mother and a child, there's a bonding chemical when they touch, when skin goes to skin, which so often in clinical settings is not allowed, but that skin to skin creates this powerful burst of oxytocin that is the bonding chemical and healing.
And what would be the equivalent chemical for contentment?
I think contentment would fit with the serotonin release.
Okay. And nourishment would be... I'm making connections here. That's why I'm asking you this question, because I realize that for me, a little metaphor that I've created for stomach is a little triad. The stomach meridian is a little triad of nourishment, contentment, and satisfaction, which I am seeing as meaning, satisfaction as meaning enough.
Fulfillment. Yeah, you look at that song that the kids were singing back a few decades ago, I can't get no satisfaction. Mm-hmm. I'm pursuing goals, and there's no satisfaction in that. There's only satiation. That's why the person who gets $1 million says, well, when I get $1 million, then I'll be happy. Well, no, I'm happy, but now that my dopamine's used up, I need another $1 million and another $1 million. People wonder why, how much can you accumulate? How much can you possibly use? It's got nothing to do with how much you can use. It's got to do with internal chemistry, which is mind energy.
Yeah, so what would one think of as a neurochemical that would, or a hormone or whatever these are, in relation to satisfaction of having enough? Contentment, would that be the same?
I think you'd be back to serotonin.
Slightly different?
The connection, fulfillment.
Satisfaction. Yeah, okay. Well, satiation would also fit, wouldn't it? Because think of the baby nursing. When it's had enough milk, it's satiated. So.
Well, I think that would really be the misuse of the word satiation. I think when the child's had enough milk, they're full, they're satisfied. Satiation is to me would be the pursuit. I need more. So satiation becomes a substitute for satisfaction.
I hope you don't mind me picking these into tiny pieces, but
no,
it really helps me synthesize. Yeah. So
I'm
like
with you.
I'm with you.
It's good conversation.
if I have to always move, if I have to always be somewhere else, if I have to always keep myself safe, I'm basically depending on dopamine hits.
Yes.
Ah, very interesting.
And protection takes us out of fulfillment, out of creative mode.
A need to protect, or a need to be safe. Okay.
Well, just having the mind and body in protect mode. If there's threat, if there's danger, no society or no person does what it takes to produce a full life if they're in protection mode.
Exactly.
When the city's running and all is well, the delivery vehicles move and the grocery store is open and the gardener's in the garden gardening and the neighbors are saying hello to the neighbors and they're gathering and playing or creating or healing or whatever it is they're doing. But the minute the alarm goes in that there's a threat to survival, then protection mode happens. In that protection mode, the garbage men don't go out and collect garbage. If there's a threat in the city, the garbage men don't go out and collect garbage, and the garbage accumulates. If there's a threat, the delivery vehicle doesn't bring food into the city, there's a threat. Everything tends to go into shutdown emergency mode, which is okay in the short term. But when one steps away from creative mode into protect mode, they're in trouble as a society and as a body.
Perfect. And at the same time, what I'm realizing about my lack of depth awareness and why I have the need in this moment for that lack of depth awareness, because my goal is targeted out there. I have to have someone or something fulfill that or give that to me, whatever that is, which we talked about, space and freedom and things like that, and time. What I'm realizing is that I was given all that neediness, or that need that I see as neediness. I have been given all my needs at creation, that I'm running around looking out there for what I already have inside of me. It reminds me of the prince who thinks he's or she is, the princess prince who thinks he or she is a pauper. It's a pretty amazing...
Or functions out of a pauper's brain, right?
Right.
Yeah, I'm just looking at satiate in the dictionary, to provide someone with more than enough, a glut.
Perfect. I hadn't thought to look that word up. Thank you. And you're not going to find it Googling it, Michael, very rarely, the origin of the words, which is so important for my understanding. And
the ancient use is glut. It's more than enough.
That's such good
and it's become, so many words have had their meanings changed, and that's why we can't reason correctly about so many things, because we don't have the correct definitions of words. Plato once said, "Let me define the words and I will end the argument."
Let me define the words and I will end the argument, right?
Well, I think I don't think that was a self-centered, I'll make up definitions. He was saying, if we come up with the definition of the word, then there's nothing to argue about. If one person over here is doing one and one's doing another, they're not in a definition. They're in errant definitions. And again, take that back to Vladimir Lenin, and here's a guy who's responsible probably for more deaths on planet Earth than any human being in history, and he says change the meaning of a culture's words and you can destroy a culture, because you can put people at war with each other.
And what the definition is it's a consensus And if everybody is in consensus, it doesn't matter whether they're in illusionary consensus or if they are in true consensus and in harmony with each other, it's still a consensual. Definition is a consensual process, a collective process, other than when it's the individual, saying this is my definition. And that's not even a problem either, Michael. If I can say, this is my definition, this is my understanding at the moment, this is my life experience, and then saying as compared to saying it as this is the way it is, this is true.
And the beauty of having, the Aramaic available is now we've got a language that's based in the physics of the world. It's not based in men's minds as every other language is.
And this is an additional perception I have, or insight, I'm not sure which. The Middle Eastern languages are very fluid. Very often they have more than one possible meaning for a word, just like we do in English. But more so, there's more of a sense of open-endedness when I'm studying the Aramaic and, the Lord's Prayer, for example, or the Beatitudes. And by the way, why is the eighth Beatitude kind of left out in most of the Aramaic teachings?
Well, they're not. I created a poster that, from my work with it, and my focus was on what are the Aramaic words that take us to the state of being, where it then splits off in a different direction in the eighth beatitude.
And
that poster.
Right.
That was a choice that I made.
Yeah, and that's very interesting because Neil Douglas Klotz must have made the same choice, because on his teaching on the Beatitudes, he does the same thing, Michael. That's very fascinating.
Oh, really? I wasn't aware of that. I haven't looked at his stuff.
I'm learning the Lord's Prayer. I'm learning how to chant it in Aramaic, and I'm using Neil Douglas Klotz's things, like I mentioned to you. I'm a little more than halfway through now, and then after that, I want to be able to chant if I can, the Beatitudes, even if I have to make up my own little chants with them. And I am just so pleased, so joyful when I do that. And so, and as I've said many times when I've talked to you and Jeannie and even Dr. Tim, just having all of these different perspectives is like my little kaleidoscope, my little mental, emotional kaleidoscope is just popping with all these little turns and twists. I love it. It's like an opening process for me. It opens me. Having all these different perspectives opens me, because I want to close down. I want to be right. I want to blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, I'm just really grateful for every one of you. And it's such a blessing having stumbled on this way.
Delighted and honored to be on the team.
I know, and I am so honored. And it's for the first time in my life, I don't feel this desperate need to seek. I just, it's unfolding as it's unfolding, and it's very, very, it's very,
sounds
very
like, yeah, well, what I hear you saying is your compulsion to achieve goals has been alleviated, and you're in satisfaction, rather than pursuit, achieving goals. And if I just had this, then if only I could, and that's all goal based. And what I hear you saying is, so now I've let go of that.
I'm heading towards contentment. I'm working with satisfaction, and I'm heading towards contentment, and then joy is beckoning.
Cool. I'm just getting ready. Can you hear a sound in the background right now?
Not really.
No? Good. Okay. Because I just hit a button that started a piece of music on my phone, and I'm sending you a text. There's a program out there called Spotify, and they have a really beautiful rendition called Abun of the Aramaic instruction set.
Sweet. Well, thank you and Jeannie so much. And an Easter card is coming your way because, like Christmas and New Year's and Thanksgiving, Easter I experience all year round. So it's called the Timeless Zone.
Cool. The link that I'm sending you is, and I'll send it to you too, Jeannie, so that that you can just put it in the notes if somebody else wants it. But it's on a program called Spotify, which we have a subscription to. You can buy, but you don't need to buy it in order to listen to their music. They do, disperse commercials and that sort of thing in between it, but it'll give you a taste of it. It's pretty powerful, pretty sweet.
Sweet.
Should be in your inbox.
All right, and it just popped up. Thank you.
There you go. Enjoy.
And I know one other thing. We were talking about protection, and it's kind of a lockdown place. And I have always been very much inspired by angels, especially guardian angels. And I'm going back to a very, very early sense of myself and the sense of safety. And the times when I was safe, the focus on the times when I was safe. And always there were like pictures of guardian angels guiding the little children, that my grandmother would have on the wall. And this is part of this whole depth awareness worksheet and the mind shifters and stuff that I'm playing with.
Right.
And it is a sense of I've been protected since I was born. I was just telling yesterday I'd have been dead probably 200 times already if it hadn't been for protection. That divine.
Sweet.
Protection. Yeah, and
Jeannie has a sweet story about her son that ties in with that. Jeannie, you want to share that? About Ryan?
Okay. Say it again.
About Ryan when he was small with the picture of the guardian angel?
Oh, yeah. It's the picture where the two children are walking across a bridge that's kind of dilapidated and there's an angel like over them. And I had that, it was my picture when I was a child, and I had it reframed and had it hanging in Ryan's room. And he would get up every night. I mean, I think he was probably 5 before he ever slept through the night. He'd come running into the room, and, of course, it woke me up as soon as I heard his feet hit the floor. And I'd walk him back in his room and cover him up and, tell him he was safe and to go back to sleep. And this one night I said, look at that picture. I said, see the guardian angel watching over the children? I said, there's angels watching over you too. And he says, yeah, but Mommy, I want somebody with skin on them.
Out of the mouths of babes.
Do you know
Isn't that great?
That when I feel unsafe, very often the prayer I will say is 5 little angels around my bed. Are you familiar with that one?
No, I haven't heard that one.
5 little angels around my bed, one at the foot and one at the head, one to sing and one to pray and one to keep my soul till day.
Hadn't heard that before. That's sweet. Well, it's interesting, the transformation. Yeah, the transformation in one generation where Jeannie, her experience with Ryan doing that, and Arya has not even the second thought about putting her head down in the dark and going to sleep. It's just she's safe and she knows it. You know, she's got a different energy experience.
It's interesting the difference between. Yes, go ahead.
Well, she's got a dad that's holding that space for her, and I think that's primary. And unfortunately, Ryan's dad back then was kind of in a hostile place, and so it wasn't such a safe space.
Do you know what's interesting about one of the differences between Eastern perceptions and Western perceptions with light and dark? That the Eastern perception does not conceive of dark as being evil. It's just the opposite of light, yin yang.
The absence of light.
Yeah, the opposite.
Yeah, I would.
The absence
yeah.
of light.
Yeah, I would make it the absence, not the opposite. If we start to treat, and a lot of people do this, treat darkness. In fact, I had a conversation recently with someone about, they're saying, well, you can't experience the light without the experience of darkness. In other words, to really take in your joy, you've got to have had pain. It's like, no, that's a false equivalency. That's an improperly used metaphor. When you use the word darkness to describe a positive presence, which it is not, darkness is simply an absence. We make the mistake of making it a positive presence, then there's something to be afraid of, where when it's just an absence, it's like the example I use is nobody has ever created a flash dark. A little device that you push the button on it and all the light goes out because the darkness puts the light out. No, there's a flashlight, and because darkness is an absence, light fills the room. That's why that scriptural statement of, it's better to light a candle than to curse the darkness, because the darkness is an absence. It's not a positive presence. Positive meaning an existent presence. It's an absence.
Okay.
Just like fear. Fear is not a positive presence. It's simply an absence of love. And when active present love comes into the space, in the same way as when the light goes on with the flashlight, the darkness dissipates because there's nothing to it. There's no power in it.
I'll share with you a poem that was written in Siberia right after the collapse of the Soviet Union, called "In the Presence of the Light." Have you ever seen that poem?
No.
I'll send it to you.
Please share it.
All right. Thank you.
Cool.
And thank you. I am complete.
All right, young lady. Well, you have a blessed one. Appreciate you. Thanks for your thinking mind participating in our development.
Yes. It's exciting, isn't it?
It is. The original incredible joining.
There you go.
Awesome. And we have another caller. And
all right.
Area
say hello.
808. You're on the air. Is Roma?
Good morning.
Aloha.
Good morning.
Good morning, young lady.
I had a resurrection yesterday on Easter. Oh,
all right.
It was absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. By the way,
tell us what happened.
Let me just preface that the conversation that was that you were just talking about darkness. From my last guru I worked with, I really got that what it is infinite possibility, undefined infinite possibility, and
that's an interesting way to think of it. It's a space in which anything can happen, right? Yeah.
Exactly, from which everything comes out of. Yeah. So that's how darkness is for me. Oh my gosh! Well, at like 6:00 in the morning yesterday on Easter morning, I really wanted to experience an Easter service with some. I went to Agape and couldn't get in. My mind is working so strangely nowadays that I don't even understand how to navigate the internet so much anymore. It's I get lost. So anyway, but And then I thought about the Unity Church here in Maui, which I had been a board member of, and I've been involved in. Back in the 1980s, I discovered Unity in New York City with Eric Butterworth in the 70s. So, and I was raised an agnostic. Right. So, I came into adulthood with complete clean slate, and was blessed to have Eric Butterworth there, who wrote a book called Discover the Power Within You. Maybe some of you know. But anyway, so I was just searching and searching all morning long on Easter. There was nothing going on with the Baha'is. I often hang out with the Baha'is, which is an extension of the. It's an evolution. It's a spiritual evolution out of the Muslim tradition, but it's global, and it's really nice. Baha'i is really beautiful.
And it's Aramaic. Baha'u'llah spoke Aramaic.
Yeah, right.
It's one of the major faiths on the planet that came out of the Aramaic language.
I love it. Yeah. Well, they're often there on Sunday morning on the internet, and they weren't. So anyway, I can't remember all the details, but I finally just decided to go out. I finally, at 11 o'clock yesterday, the Unity Church of Maui, it was 12:30 it came up. At 12:30 onto my internet, it just popped up, and I got to watch the last 10 minutes. The sermon was all over, but the energy field was so strong, and I just absorbed it, and it just came into me. And then I thought, I'm going to go for a walk. So I went for a walk, and I was walking around wishing everybody a happy Easter. And it was me. I was wishing myself a happy Easter. And then later on in the day, I just felt this incredible, amazing happiness just pouring through me. And I thought, my gosh, that's the power of my word. I have manifested this. So I don't know. I can't remember the details. I woke up, in that semi-state between asleep and awake. That
right.
There's the semi-state between being asleep and awake. Huh? What?
Yep. In a space of guidance?
Yeah. You're completely still. It's possible in that state between awake and Einstein used to go there when he had a problem he couldn't figure out. He would put in. You told this story, don't you? Isn't this a story that you tell?
Well, actually, that
Einstein,
was
if he had a problem he couldn't figure. Yeah, he would put an iron ball in his hand and lie down to go to sleep. And as soon as he would actually reach that intermediate state and start falling asleep, the ball would fall out, and he would find himself awakened in that intermediate stage between sleep and awake, where you can actually draw from the infinite anything,
yes.
Everything.
Yeah. And it was actually Thomas Edison that did that with the iron ball.
Oh, I thought that was Einstein. That was Thomas Edison.
No, it was that Edison. Yeah, that was his way of connecting.
Wow.
Sweet. Well, glad you're in that connected state and supporting you and holding it. We're down to the last minute or so. So I'm going to just say thank you to everybody for joining us, and we hold the space for this Easter season to infill and bring that presence of joy totally, completely to every cell in your structure and extend it out to every mind, heart, and being on the planet. Blessings.